precious child. In my mind, I see you clear as a bell. Precious child, precious child. In my soul, there is a hole that can never be filled. But in my heart, there is hope, 'cause you are with me still. In my heart, you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart.
My name's Brenton Hall. You've probably seen me around during conference, those who have been there. I'm a SANS parent, along with Tracy, my wife, and I'm also the on-call SANS photographer for the local Hawke's Bay SANS organisation. And I feel pretty privileged to be involved in this service tonight. It's actually the fifth. I had to think about that because there's been it's the fourth national conference, but it's the fifth, I think that's correct, isn't it? It's the fifth the fifth remembering service we've had up here at this memorial area. So I'd like to welcome everybody here. Everybody here is welcome tonight. We thank you for coming. We're coming as family, as parents, as grandparents, as brothers, sisters, extended family. We've all got a connection, we've all got a reason, a similar reason for being here tonight. Health workers, caregivers, all of us have been involved in some way with bereavement of children, and we thank you all for coming. A lot of us have come here especially to remember our own babies who have died, but at the same time we want to remember the many, many other babies who have died. And we've come to this place, which is a cemetery. It's often thought of as a place of sadness, a place of broken dreams, of hopes that were never realised. But we've also come here as a place for a special remembrance. And I'd just like to sincerely offer my condolences to all those who have lost babies and children and just suffered this tragic loss of a much longed for child. And we've heard a lot during the conference that a lot of us have been involved in about parents who have lost a child, or all those who have been in contact with those who have lost a child. It's like a special membership, like a society where there's kind of an affinity and an understanding and an acknowledgement that's not readily found in people who haven't walked in our shoes. So all of us are here tonight because we've lost babies, we've lost children, or we've been in contact with those who have lost children. And that's our common bond, that's our uniqueness, it's our reason for being here. And it's kind of like a commonality that draws us close and together as friends because we've been through that situation. And I fully appreciate it's a pretty emotional time for some people to be here. And that's why we thank so many for having come tonight. But this is as good a time as any to really share those emotions because you're amongst people who understand and share that and who care. Just briefly, stillbirth and newborn death support, which is what the letters SANDS stand for, is, as an organisation, we're trying to recognise the pain of all those parents whose babies have died in the past. And hopefully many of you whose babies have died just very recently, and I know there's some here who have been at the conference. I hope you've had the opportunity to have held that baby, to have spent time with it, and to bury it as a cherished part of your family. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it does help. And it's only now, and it was quite different in times gone by, but it's now that we're beginning to understand that people heal best not by forgetting and putting behind, but by remembering. And by treasuring the memories and the connection that hold you to that baby that has died. They are a big part, they're a major part of our lives, they're part of you, and you're a different person, and I think a better person for having known them and for loving them. And it's never too late. Just a couple of people to thank. Pat Gordon, who's sitting down here, has had the major part in organising this service tonight, and we thank you for all your efforts, Pat. That's terrific. We have thanked in the past, but the Napier City Council for just making this area available and for realising how important it is. It's become a special place for so many people, so we're really thankful for them. We want to thank all the wonderful presenters we've had at conference who have caused us again to really evaluate where we're at in our grief, and we've learnt so much. Thank you to those. And now also to our musicians that are going to be sharing with us tonight. We have Luana Sheardown and William Winitana, who will be quite well known to a lot of the people in Hawke's Bay and maybe even nationally as well. So there's some beautiful music yet to come. As we acknowledge that love that burns within us for our children, we invite anyone who hasn't already done so to write the name of your baby on a ribbon and tie it on the memorial wall. And some of you know the name of your baby and some of you do not. And some may have never dared to write or say the name that you have carried for that child. So the opportunity to do that is here right now, or even just simply a message from your heart. That's all from me. Thank you for coming once again, and we'd now like to introduce Luana, who's just going to share a song with us. Thanks, Luana.
Fly, fly, little wing, fly beyond imagining, the softest cloud, the whitest dove, upon the wind of heaven's love. Past the planets and the stars, leave this lonely world of ours, escape the sorrow and the pain, and fly again. Fly, fly, precious one, your endless journey has begun. Take your gentle happiness, far too beautiful for this. Cross over to the other shore, there is peace forevermore. Take your gentle happiness, far too beautiful for this. But hold this memory bittersweet until we meet. Fly, fly, do not fear. Don't waste a breath, don't shed a tear. Your heart is pure, your soul is free. Be on your way, don't wait for me. Above the universe you climb, on beyond the hands of time. The moon will rise, the sun will set, but I won't forget. Fly, fly, little wing, fly where only angels sing. Fly away, the time is right. Go now, find the light.
You might recognise that as a Celine Dion song, and wasn't it sung just beautifully then? Thank you, Luana. Pat? I think, is going to read to us a psalm. And I believe it's the 23rd Psalm. Pat? Thank you, Pat.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, where he restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
William Monitana and Luana are going to bring us a couple of songs. now I have great pleasure in introducing our guest speaker for this evening, Jan Yaxley. Thank you, Jan.
Good evening. My, that was some singing, wasn't it? You know, we're here to remember, and for many of you, you heard our story today. Our boy died in 86 and he was 16 and a half. But it still gets you, doesn't it? And it makes me so glad that we do feel that way, because we must never forget them. We do get better, life does go on, but we can just never ever forget them. And it is a pleasure to be able to speak with you tonight, just briefly. And I think for me, it's an absolute vital part of mums and dads, siblings, nanas and granddads, aunties and uncles, cousins, the whole extended family, that we don't forget these precious children. I know what touched my heart. There's two things that have touched my heart greatly. Many, many things, but two things stand out in my memory. One young man who was a friend of our son, David, every year we buried our boy on Christmas Eve. But every year that boy, he's now grown into a fine young man. Our boy would be 33 if he had lived. But he comes every year to hug us and says to me, "I'll never forget David. I'll never forget David." And as a mum and as a dad, that just so warms our hearts. And another thing that totally just is embedded into my heart forever is about 18 months after our boy was killed, some friends of ours, we said, "You go out for the night, we'll babysit." And we were feeling really good this night, and we babysat, and then they came home and they had tears, just they tried to get themselves together, but they had tears running down their face, and we thought, gosh, it couldn't have been a very good date. Maybe they've had a big fight. And we said, "Is everything okay? Can we help you with anything?" And they said on the way home, they remembered David, our boy. And they said, "We just had to go to the gravesite." And so what they did, they stole some roses. I think that's okay on these occasions. They climbed a fence and stole some wild roses, and they took them to the gravesite. And you know, for us as a husband, my husband and I, for us that night, we were okay. And we just embraced this young couple who loved us and loved our boy. And it just touched our hearts so much that they had not forgotten our child. And I think for everyone here that's lost a loved one, the thing that we fear most is that we will forget them, and other people will too. And how it warms our hearts when we find that they don't. It's just so encouraging. And I've run out of light here. But anyway, I want to read a psalm, just two verses of this psalm, and it's Psalm 126. It's been such an encouragement to me. And it says this: "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy. He who goes forth weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with him." And my encouragement is to everyone here that has suffered loss. Indeed, we have sowed some very precious seed, haven't we? Very precious seed. And I know that out of our lives, as we allow ourselves, with the help of others and our loved ones, to get better, and then we move on, and we can, when we feel that we are recovering, when we see someone else suffering the same loss, we can loan them some of our courage. You see, that I believe that is the courage that comes from adversity, and the hope that you may be able to impart into other people's lives. I believe that is the fruit of our precious seeds, of our precious, precious seeds that we're sown. And I know for me, and for all of us here, I believe that if we could just have that realization that what we say, and when we comfort others, it means an awful lot to people. We just never underestimate the comforting words that you may give to another bereaved person. But how can you give that heart, and how can you feel like that? As I said before, it's the fruit, it's the harvest, that fruit of that precious seed that we have sown. And there's just as I was leading, it's so interesting because I had the most amazing quote. It was just perfect for this situation. And I've left my notes in the auditorium and it's locked up and I can't get them. And so that's okay. But there's something else, again from scriptures, which I would love to leave with you. And it's from Isaiah 49, verse 15. It says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child that she has borne? Though she may forget, but I know the mothers here and the fathers and the nanas and the papas and everyone else, we can never forget." But God is saying here, though she may forget, I will never forget you. And I would be unfaithful to what I do best. I guess I'm a minister of the gospel, and I'd be unfaithful if I didn't say to you that the God who cares and understands about us, he is the one also that understands the seed that you've sown. He understands the tears that you've shed. And you know what he says? He says to me, and he said to me over the years, I won't forget you. And my prayer is, indeed my prayer is this, that you will know his consolation. And so it has been an absolute privilege. I count it an awesome privilege to be here today. I'm excited about the fruit that is coming from your sorrow, the fruit of the organisation of SANS. And today I just absolutely felt that it's going to get broader and broader. And in many, many aspects it's going to touch many, many lives. You see, out of our precious seed, much fruit is going to come from it. So God bless you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Jan. Those words were very encouraging. Pat, I think, has a poem that she would like to read to us now. Thanks, Pat.
I wrote this poem in May 2001, and I think it will just speak for itself. 10th of March 1963. You were born into the world unseeing, unseen by those who longed for you, loved you, carried to your tiny grave by arms that ached with unspoken grief. Other arms ache to hold you at the sight of living loved ones. Forget, move on, don't upset others, embarrass them, keep you out of my heart. Time passes, brothers, sisters are born, grow, marry. Grandchildren, joy of family, loving relationships. That dark spot in my heart goes unnoticed by all, except my Heavenly Father. He draws me to Sam's annual twilight service. I'm doing this for Stuart, I tell him, and I was. So many people, all with loss, grief released, tears flowing, my heart open to embrace you. It's not in forgetting, it's in remembering. Home at last, part of our family, warmly welcomed by all. Such a precious gift, here to stay. Family complete, still growing. Await joyous reunion.
Thank you, Pat. And now would all the children like to come forward? I believe Jane has something special for the children, if they'd all like to just come forward now. Isn't it neat to have all the children involved? It might become apparent in just a few minutes what they were really doing for those of you at the back who couldn't quite see. And now we're going to invite you all to come forward and everybody to come forward and to light a candle for their loved one. And just in the interest of safety, we would ask that the children be accompanied by an adult and perhaps prefer if the children's come up with their families and light the candle as a family for their loved one. Now, while we're performing this candle lighting ceremony, we're going to be brought some more music by William and Luana. And just before that starts, I'm just going to, if I can still see it in the light, I think I can, just read the poem on our memorial sculpture, which I might just shift this a fraction for. I thought of you today, but that was nothing new. I thought of you yesterday, and the day before that too. For it doesn't take a special day to bring you to my mind, 'cause a day without a thought of you is very hard to find. Perhaps those who are organising the candlelighting will make a start. Thanks.
Evening, folks. Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is William Winitana, and I'd like to dedicate this next piece to my son, who would be 5 years old this month. His name is Brandon. Line is behind the door. Behind the door, there's peace, I'm sure, and I know there'll be no more tears in heaven. If I saw
Good evening. I'd like to dedicate this song to my mother, who's a very strong, beautiful person, and for the brothers and sisters I have who have gone before me. Every night in my dreams I see you, I feel you. That is how I know you go on. Far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you go on. We're far, wherever you are, I believe that the heart does go on. Once more, you open the door, and you're here in my heart, and my heart will go on and love can touch us one time and last for a lifetime and never let go till we're gone. Love was when I loved you one true time, I hold you in my life, will always go on. We're far, wherever in my dreams. You are alive and well, precious child, precious child, in my mind. I see you clear as a bell, precious child, in my soul. There is a hole that can never be filled, and in my heart there is hope, 'cause you are with me still. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart, in my plans. I was the first to leave, precious child, but in this world I was left here to grieve, precious child, my precious child. In my soul there is a hole that can never be filled, but in my heart there is hope, and you are with me still. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart. God knows I want to hold you, see you, touch you, and maybe there's a heaven, and someday I will again. Please know you're not forgotten until then. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart.
Oh, Daddy boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go, and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. For I'll be here in sunshine and in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But come ye back, and all the flowers are falling. If I am dead as well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I will hear though soft you tread above me, and on my grave will warm a sweeter be, and you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I will sleep in peace until you come to me. Thanks, folks.
I'm sure we could just listen to those singers all night, but the service is over and we thank you heaps for coming, and stay as long as you wish, and yeah, this is the special place for remembrance, and thanks heaps for coming, and have a safe journey home. Thanks.
Feel free to take your candles with you if you would like to do so.
I got lost. I stood in the line and they said went wrong.
In my dreams, you are alive and well, precious child, precious child. In my mind, I see you clear as a precious child, in my soul there is a hole that can never be filled. But in my heart there is hope, 'cause you are with me still. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart. In my plans, I was the first to leave. Precious child, precious child. But in this world, I was left here to grieve. Precious child, my precious child. In my soul there is a hole that can never be filled. But in my heart there is hope, and you are with me still. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon. Though it may be true that we're apart, you will live forever in my heart. God knows I wanna hold you, see you, touch you, and maybe there's a heaven, and someday I will again. Please know you're not forgotten until then. In my heart you live on, always there, never gone. Precious child, you left too soon.